welcome back to our channel. It is a wildly unpredictable day in the soap world, and the updates just keep pouring in from every direction. We are working around the clock to bring you the latest breakdowns and raw details. So let's get straight into the heavy drama unfolding right now. And we really need to talk about Nick Newman, because the guy is just spiraling, out of control, total freefall. He is hooked on fentanyl. We all saw him collapse, right there in the CEO office of Newman Enterprises. He was on the phone, and then he just dropped. The drugs just took over his system. Phyllis Summers was there, and Matt Clark of all people. Matt Clark, the guy with amnesia, the guy who used to be a total monster. They were the ones who found him. They saved his life. They did the CPR, they called the paramedics. They kept Nick breathing when his heart literally wanted to stop beating. They were the heroes in that moment. So you would think Nick would be grateful. You would think he would wake up in the hospital and say thank you. But no, Nick wakes up and decides to be a total hypocrite. He decides to blackmail the woman who just saved his life. He tells Phyllis she has to give up Newman Enterprises. He says she has to sign it all over, or else he will go to the cops. He will tell the police she is harboring Matt Clark, a known fugitive. It is just raw, ugly blackmail, and it is so hard to watch. Because Nick is acting like a villain. He is acting like his father. And he is destroying everything in his path. But Nick is not thinking straight. The drugs are messing with his head. He is erratic. He is furious. He just wants to win. But he is leaving a massive path of destruction in his wake. And the person who is going to get hurt the most is Summer. Summer Newman, his own daughter, and Phyllis's daughter. Because if Nick sends Phyllis to prison, Summer is going to be devastated. She will lose her mother, and she will hate her father for doing it. It is a recipe for total family disaster. So someone has to step in. Someone has to talk some sense into Nick before he does something he can never undo. And that someone is Sharon Newman. Because Sharon is always the one who steps in to clean up Nick's messes. She tracks him down. She finds him pacing and sweating and looking like a total wreck. Because Nick is dealing with withdrawal. He is dealing with the fentanyl cravings, real, scary, dark addiction. And Sharon knows she has to be careful. She cannot just yell at him. But she also knows she has to be firm. She approaches Nick, not just as his ex-wife, not just as his friend, but as a mother. As a mother who knows what it is like to see children suffer. She approaches him as someone who cares deeply about Summer. Because Summer is caught right in the dead center of this toxic war. And it is tearing the poor girl apart. Summer is watching her dad lose his mind and her mom face prison. It is too much for anyone to handle. And Sharon just lays it all out on the line. She looks Nick right in the eye, and she tells him he has to stop. He has to drop the blackmail. He has to give Phyllis a chance. Because this endless hostility is going to destroy Summer. Sharon reminds Nick that Summer has been through enough. She has seen her parents fight for years. She has been pulled back and forth. But this is different. This is about putting her mother in a cold jail cell. And Sharon tells Nick that Summer will never forgive him if he goes through with this. Summer needs stability. She needs peace. She needs her family to stop tearing each other to pieces. But Nick is just so defensive. He yells. He paces. He says Phyllis deserves it. Because Phyllis stole the company. Because Phyllis is working with Matt Clark, the guy who caused so much pain. But Sharon does not let him deflect. She brings it right back to the overdose. She forces Nick to face the ugly truth. She reminds him that he was dying on that floor. His lips were turning blue. His lungs were stopping, and Phyllis did not walk away. She did not let him die so she could keep the company. She saved him. She fought for his life. And Sharon tells Nick that has to count for something. It has to mean something in the grand scheme of things. So Sharon argues that Phyllis deserves a chance at redemption because saving a life is a big deal. Especially the life of someone who has been attacking you. Sharon tells Nick that he was Phyllis. He owes her his life, and the least he can do is not send her to prison. Because if he does, he is basically saying that her saving him meant absolutely nothing. And what kind of message does that send to Summer? That her dad is so vindictive he would lock up the woman who saved his life. It is just a terrible look for Nick. And Sharon is not afraid to tell him that straight to his face. And then Sharon gets personal, because she has to. She has to make him see reason. She brings up her own history with Phyllis. And we all know that history is incredibly messy. It is ugly. It is full of betrayal. They have fought over Nick for decades. They have done terrible, unforgivable things to each other. But Sharon tells Nick that she put all that aside. She made a conscious choice. To stop the fighting, to try and heal the wounds. Because of the kids, because Faith and Noah and Summer all need their parents to get along. They need a united front. Sharon tells Nick about her own personal efforts to mend fences with Phyllis. She talks about how hard it was, how much pride she had to swallow to sit in the same room as her, how many times she wanted to scream, but bit her tongue instead. But she did it. She did it for the greater good. She did it so their blended family could actually function without exploding every 5 minutes. So she looks at Nick and asks him why he cannot do the same. Why can't he just let it go? The company is just a company. Newman Enterprises will survive. Victor will survive. But Summer's mental health might not. Summer needs both of her parents. She needs them free. She needs them healthy. And right now, neither of them are healthy. Nick is fighting a drug addiction. Phyllis is fighting a legal nightmare, and Summer is watching it all burn down. Sharon pleads with Nick to be the bigger person. To step up. To be the dad Summer needs right now. To put his ego in a box and throw away the key. But it is just so hard to watch Nick struggle. The fentanyl has a grip on him. His brain is wired for conflict right now. He thinks Victor wants him to be ruthless. He thinks this is how a Newman handles business. But Sharon reminds him that Victor's way is toxic. Victor's way destroys families. Look at what Victor is doing to Jack and Nikki right now. It is all just manipulation and pain. Sharon begs Nick not to be like his father. To break the cycle, to choose forgiveness over revenge. Because forgiveness is the only way Summer is going to survive this intact. And Sharon makes a really good point about the harsh reality of prison. If Phyllis goes to a federal penitentiary, what happens to Summer? What does her life look like? She will be visiting her mom behind thick safety glass. She will be dealing with the horrible stigma, the relentless press coverage, the vicious Genoa City gossip mill. And the worst part is, she will know that her own father put her mother there. She will know Nick pulled the trigger. The psychological damage would be permanent and irreversible. Sharon tells Nick that he absolutely cannot do that to his little girl. Even though Summer is a grown woman now, she is still his daughter. She is still his little girl. And she still desperately needs her mom. It is just a raw, emotional, gut-wrenching plea, and Sharon is giving it everything she has. She is practically begging him to see the big picture, so Nick has to sit there and listen. He has to absorb it. He tries to argue that Phyllis broke the law. She is harboring Matt Clark, a known criminal, a fugitive, but Sharon just shakes her head. She tells Nick that he is breaking the law too, buying illegal drugs, using fentanyl. If anyone should be in handcuffs, maybe it is him. It is a harsh truth, but Nick needs to hear it. He is acting like he is on the moral high ground, but he is literally in the gutter. And Sharon is the only one brave enough to call him out on it. She is holding up a mirror and forcing him to look at his own crimes. And we have to talk about Matt Clark for a second. Because his role in this whole mess is so crazy, he is suffering from amnesia. Or maybe he isn't. It is hard to tell with Matt. But he helped save Nick too, and now Phyllis is protecting him. It is a bizarre, twisted alliance, but Sharon tells Nick that he cannot use Matt as an excuse to destroy Phyllis. Whatever is going on with Matt and Phyllis, it does not justify Nick's cruel blackmail. Nick promised Victor he would go to rehab. He promised his family he would get clean. He needs to focus on that. He needs to focus on his own survival, not on playing cop and judge and jury with Phyllis. Because Nick is in no position to judge anyone right now. He is a drug addict who is throwing stones from a glass house. And Sharon is making sure he knows exactly how hypocritical he is being. Because if Nick keeps pushing this, he is going to lose everything. He will lose Summer. He might lose his life to the drugs. And he will definitely lose his soul. Sharon is trying to save his soul. She is trying to pull him back from the edge. She tells him that giving Phyllis a pass isn't weakness. It is strength. It takes a strong man to forgive. It takes a strong man to look at the woman who stole his family's company and say, "You saved my life, so we are even." That is what Sharon wants Nick to do. Just call it even and walk away. Just let Phyllis have her chance at redemption. Because she earned it when she kept his heart beating. But the tension in the room is just suffocating. Nick is pacing like a caged animal. He is sweating. He is angry. He feels betrayed by everyone. By Phyllis, by Victor, by his own body. And Sharon is just standing there, calm, steady, the voice of reason. She keeps bringing it back to Summer, 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 Summer. Because that is the only word that can penetrate the fog in Nick's brain. He loves his daughter. He really does. And Sharon knows that love is the only weapon she has against the fentanyl and the Newman pride. She knows she has to keep hammering that point home until Nick finally breaks. So she asks him to visualize it, to imagine Summer's face when she finds out Phyllis is going to jail. To imagine the tears, the screaming, the hatred in Summer's eyes when she looks at Nick. Sharon asks him if taking down Phyllis is worth that look. Is it worth losing his daughter forever? Because that is the choice he is making. It is not a choice between justice and crime. It is a choice between revenge and his daughter. And Sharon tells him that if he chooses revenge, he will regret it for the rest of his life. He will wake up every day knowing he broke his own family apart. And honestly, I don't know what Nick is going to do. He is so unpredictable right now. The drugs make him volatile. One minute he might agree with Sharon. The next minute he might call the cops on Phyllis. It is a terrifying situation because Phyllis is backed into a corner. She is terrified of Christine. She is terrified of Victor. She is making desperate moves with Michael Baldwin. And if Nick pushes her, who knows what she will do? She and Matt Clark might team up and do something drastic. The whole city is like a powder keg right now, and Nick is holding the match. But Sharon did her part. She delivered the message. She fought for Summer. She fought for peace. And she proved once again why she is the emotional anchor for so many people in this town. She put aside her own past with Phyllis to advocate for her. Because she knows it is the right thing to do. Now it is all on Nick. He has to decide what kind of man he wants to be. Does he want to be the ruthless Newman, or does he want to be the loving father? We are all just waiting to see which Nick shows up tomorrow because the clock is ticking. And Phyllis's freedom is hanging by a thread. And that is where we are at. The stakes have literally never been higher. Summer's future is on the line. Nick's recovery is on the line. Phyllis's freedom is on the line. It is just a massive, tangled web of trauma and blackmail and drugs. And Sharon is right in the middle of it, trying to untangle it before it strangles them all. We will be watching every single second of this fallout. Because this is the kind of drama that changes everything. It changes families permanently, so keep your eyes peeled. Because Nick Newman is about to make a choice that will shake Genoa City to its core.